Have you ever watched a 78-year-old woman bend all the way to the floor, lift a folded futon over her head, and slide it into a closet shelf? No warm-up, no stretching routine, no trainer standing behind her counting to 10, just a woman in a wooden house in Nagano doing what she has done every single morning for 60 years. And she hasn't even had breakfast yet. It's 5:15, the room smells like cedar and old tatami. She steps onto the porch, rolls her shoulders in the cool air, and walks 2 blocks to a park where a scratchy loudspeaker is already playing a tune her grandmother knew. 14 neighbors, most of them over 70, are already moving. 6 minutes later, it's over. She walks back through the morning market, picks up a few vegetables, carries them home, and sits cross-legged on the floor to eat. Here's the thing that stopped me. By the time she picks up her chopsticks, her body has already bent, lifted, balanced, reached, walked, and carried. And she hasn't called any of it exercise. Not once. It's not genetics. It's not some expensive supplement. It's not discipline or willpower or grinding through pain at 5 in the morning. Japan has one of the highest life expectancies on Earth. More than 90,000 people there have passed the century mark. And when you look closely at how they start their mornings, you don't find a workout plan. You find a way of living where the body never stops moving because the morning never asks it to sit still. This video is 12 of those habits. 12 things that happen before the day even starts, most of them free, all of them gentle, every one of them something you could borrow tomorrow morning. The first one begins the moment she opens her eyes. 1. Folding the futon. The stretch nobody calls a stretch. In most Japanese homes, you don't sleep in a bed. You sleep on a futon, a thick mat rolled out on the tatami floor each night, and folded up each morning. That means the very first thing you do when you wake up is bend down, lift something heavy, fold it, and reach up to put it away. A full forward bend, a squat, an overhead press. Before the kettle is even on, picture your own morning. The alarm goes off, you swing your legs over the side of the bed, stand up, and walk to the kitchen. Your back might not fully straighten for another hour. Now picture starting the day with a full bend, a lift, and a reach instead. Not because you're exercising, because that's where the blanket goes. Nobody in Nagano calls this a workout. There's no word for it. It's just what the morning is. And that might be the most useful thing about it. The healthiest movement is the kind you'd never think to skip because it's not optional. It's just where the futon lives. But the body hasn't sat down yet. And what's waiting on the table is habit number 2. 2. Miso soup at breakfast. The warm start. In most of the world, breakfast is cold or sweet or grabbed on the way out the door. A cereal bar, a muffin in the car, coffee with enough sugar to count as dessert. In Japan, breakfast starts with something warm, savory, and slow. A bowl of miso soup, steam curling off the surface, made from fermented soybean paste that's been part of the Japanese table for centuries. It takes about 5 minutes to make. Boil water, stir in the paste, drop in a few cubes of tofu, a handful of seaweed, maybe a sliced green onion. That's it. No recipe, no special equipment. The bowl is small, you hold it in both hands, and drink. Now here's the thing. Starting the morning with something warm and savory instead of cold and sweet changes the pace of the whole meal. You can't rush a hot bowl. You sip, you pause, you sit. The warmth settles in your stomach, and by the time you finish, you've been sitting still for 10 minutes without trying. Nobody's calling miso a miracle food. It's breakfast. But a breakfast that asks you to slow down, sit, and hold still for a few minutes is doing more than filling your stomach. And the morning isn't done moving yet. Because while she was sipping that soup, the loudspeaker in the park was already warming up. 3. Radio Teizo, 3 minutes with the whole neighborhood. Picture it. 6 in the morning, a small park in a town you've never heard of. The air is cool, and the light is just barely coming through the trees. A loudspeaker crackles on, and a tinny piano melody starts playing. And then, like they've done it 1,000 times before, because they have, a few dozen people start moving together. Radio Taizo has been running in Japan since 1928. That's almost 100 years. The same broadcast, the same simple movements, the same scratchy tune, played on loudspeakers in parks and schoolyards all over the country every single morning. Arm circles, side bends, toe touches, gentle twists, nothing fancy, nothing hard. 3 to 6 minutes depending on the version, and you're done. No mat, no special clothes, no sign-up sheet. You just show up. And most of the people there are over 60. Some of them over 80. They've been doing this since they were children. Their parents did it before them. Be honest. When was the last time you moved your whole body, every joint, first thing in the morning? Not a walk, not the gym. Just a few minutes of bending and reaching and twisting, done with your neighbors, in the open air, before the day has even started. Meanwhile, most of us start the morning in a chair, and that difference, that gap between moving and sitting, adds up in ways you might not expect. 4. Opening the windows, letting the morning in. In a traditional Japanese home, one of the first things that happens after waking is sliding open the windows and letting the outside air move through the house. Not for a minute, for the whole morning. The house breathes. The rooms fill with whatever the season offers. Cool air in autumn, warm humidity in summer, the smell of wet stone after rain. This isn't a wellness practice. Nobody writes it down or tracks it. It's just how the house works. Paper screens and sliding doors are designed to open wide, and opening them means walking room to room, reaching overhead, pulling things back. It's another few minutes of standing, moving, reaching, and breathing air that doesn't come from a vent. Think about your own morning. Most of us walk from one sealed room to another, bedroom to kitchen to car. The air stays the same, the temperature never changes, the body never registers that a new day has started. In a Japanese home, the morning walks in through the window and you feel it arrive on your skin. There's something about that first cool draft across your arms that wakes you up faster than any cup of coffee. And there's a reason the Japanese have a word for the change of seasons that most of us only notice from behind glass. But the real test of how a morning keeps the body young isn't standing, it's getting down and getting back up. 5. Sitting on the floor, the exercise that isn't one. Let me stop right here, because this one changes the way you see everything else on this list. In a Japanese home, you eat on the floor, you fold clothes on the floor, you read on the floor, you sit with your legs folded under you or crossed in front of you, and then you stand back up. Maybe 20 times a day, maybe more. Most of us haven't sat on a floor since grade school. Car seat, desk chair, recliner, repeat. An 80-year-old in Kyoto sits down on her tatami floor to drink her tea and stands back up without thinking about it. Her legs never got the memo that 80 is supposed to be old. You know what's interesting? Researchers have looked at how well someone can sit down on the floor and get back up without using their hands, and it turns out to be one of the simplest measures of overall strength and balance. Not because the floor is magic, but because the act of lowering yourself and pushing yourself back up uses nearly every major muscle group in your body. Legs, core, back, balance. All of it. Every time. And the Japanese don't do it as a test. They do it because the tea is on the floor. Because the futon is on the floor. Because life is on the floor. The strength just comes along for free. A floor-sitting life builds something no gym ever has to. And the next habit doesn't ask you to move at all. It asks you to hold still. 6. Green tea, first cup. The pause that earns its place. Somewhere between the futon and the market, the kettle clicks on, a spoonful of loose green tea goes into a small pot. Hot water, a minute to steep. The cup is small, maybe 4 ounces, and you hold it with both hands because it's too hot to hold any other way. This is not a productivity hack. This is not about antioxidants or metabolism or anything with a number attached to it. This is about stopping, sitting, holding something warm, watching steam rise in the morning light. The whole thing takes 5 minutes, and those 5 minutes are not spent staring at a phone. Here's the part that stuck with me. The tea doesn't do anything dramatic, but the pause does. It breaks the morning into before and after. Before tea, you were moving, folding, opening, bending. After tea, you eat. The cup is a comma in the sentence of the morning, and most of us don't have a comma. We have one long run-on sentence from the alarm clock to the car. When was the last time you drank something warm in the morning without looking at a screen? The next habit takes her out the door, and her legs already know the way. 7. Walking to errands. The commute that never left. In most American towns, the car starts the day. Driveway to parking lot, door to door. The legs don't do much between the bed and the brake pedal. In the small towns and neighborhoods of Japan, the morning walk to the market or the post office is still a walk. Not a drive, not an errand run. A walk on real ground at a real pace, carrying real weight on the way home. She walks maybe 20 minutes each way. The bag coming back has a few daikon radishes, some fish wrapped in paper, a bunch of green onions. It's not heavy, but it's not nothing. Her arms carry it, her legs carry her. Her feet feel every curb, every slope, every uneven stone. There's nothing radical about walking with a bag of groceries. Your grandparents did it. Their grandparents did it. The radical thing is that we stopped. We moved everything into the car, and we moved ourselves out of the morning air, and we called it convenience. And it was. But the legs noticed. Walking to the store with a bag in your hand is the oldest full-body movement human beings have, and it doesn't cost a thing. Not a gym, not a treadmill, not even a good pair of shoes, just a destination close enough to reach on foot. And the next habit is already waiting for her when she gets home. 8. Hanging laundry outside. The reach nobody counts. Most homes in Japan don't have a clothes dryer. Laundry goes outside, pinned on a line or hung on a rack on the balcony. Every morning, that means carrying a basket of wet clothes out the door, reaching overhead to hang each piece, bending down for the next one, and reaching up again. Over and over. Shirts, towels, socks, sheets. Reach, bend, reach, bend. It takes maybe 15 minutes. In that time, her shoulders open up, her arms stretch overhead a dozen times. Her back bends and straightens. The sun hits her face. The air moves through the fabric. And when she's done, the laundry smells like morning, not like a machine. Think about that. A chore that most of us toss into a dryer and forget is, in Japan, a full-body stretch session in the open air, done without thinking, without scheduling, without anyone calling it a routine. And she's done it 6,000 times. Her shoulders know it by heart. The morning has been quiet, physical, steady. No rush, no gym. No plan, just a life built in a way that keeps the body reaching, and that design, that quiet architecture, is about to show up at the table again. Because the last 4 habits aren't about how she moves. They're about how she thinks. 9. Hara Hachibu. Eat until you're 80% full and stop. There's a phrase in Okinawa, one of the longest-lived places on earth. Hara Hachibu. It means eat until you are 8 parts full. Not until the plate is clean. Not until you're stuffed. Just until you feel almost done. Then stop. No calorie counting. No measuring cups. No app. Just a habit of pausing before the last few bites and asking quietly, am I still hungry, or am I just eating because the food is there? Try this at your next meal. Eat slowly. Put the fork down between bites. When you feel the first whisper of fullness, not the full feeling, just the edge of it, stop. Wait 5 minutes. Most of the time, you'll realize you were done 3 bites ago and didn't notice. Hara Hachibu isn't a diet. It's a small act of paying attention. And the difference between stopping at full and stopping at almost full over the course of a year is enormous. Not because of math, because of the habit it builds. You start listening to your body instead of your plate. When was the last time you stopped eating because you felt satisfied? Not because the food was gone. The next one takes her outside again. And this time, she gets her hands in the dirt. 10. Gardening before the heat. The gym in the backyard. If you ask a 90-year-old in Okinawa what keeps her going, she probably won't say vegetables. She'll say the garden. Not the produce, the garden. The act of walking out the back door, kneeling in the dirt, pulling a weed, turning a row, watering a tomato plant that might not fruit for another month. Gardening is squatting, kneeling, reaching, pulling, carrying, and balancing. Done slowly, in the sun, with your hands in something alive. It's the most complete, low-impact movement pattern most people will ever find. And it comes with a reason to show up tomorrow, because the beans don't water themselves. Here's a fact that might surprise you. In the blue zones, the communities around the world where people live the longest, gardening shows up in nearly every single one. Not running, not lifting, gardening. Hands in the soil, morning light on the shoulders, a bucket of water carried 20 feet. The body follows the purpose. Give it a reason to bend and carry and kneel, and it keeps the ability to bend and carry and kneel. Take the reason away, and the ability goes too. Nobody in Okinawa gardens to stay in shape. They stay in shape because they garden. But the last two habits don't happen in the garden or at the table. They happen somewhere quieter. 11. Sweeping the genkan, the doorstep that trains the mind. Every Japanese home has a genkan, a small entryway where you take off your shoes before stepping up into the house. And every morning, someone sweeps it. A broom, a dustpan, maybe 90 seconds. The same 5 square feet, clean the same way, every day. This is not about a clean floor. It's about starting the day with a completed task. Something small, something you can see, something finished before the world starts asking for your attention. Most of us wake up and reach for the phone, the news, the messages, the long list of things we haven't done yet. The day starts with a deficit. In that Nagano house, the day starts with a broom, a small square floor, and the quiet satisfaction of something already done. You don't need a genkan, you need a doorstep, a counter, a sink. One small surface you clear each morning, not because it matters, but because the act of finishing something before 8 o'clock changes the shape of the whole day. And the last habit isn't a habit at all. It's the reason all the others exist. 12. Ikigai. The reason she got up in the first place. They call it Ikigai. A reason to get up in the morning. Not a grand mission, not a career goal, not a legacy to leave behind, just a small, steady answer to the question, why did I open my eyes today? For the woman in Nagano, it might be the garden. For her neighbor, it's the grandchildren who come every Sunday. For the man 3 houses down, it's the calligraphy class he's taught for 40 years. None of them would use the word purpose. They would just say, this is what I do. Here's the quiet part. Every habit on this list works on its own. Folding the futon keeps the shoulders loose. Walking to the market keeps the legs strong. Miso warms the belly, and tea slows the morning down. But none of them stick without a reason to start the day. The body doesn't stay young because of any one stretch or one bowl of soup. It stays young because it has somewhere to go and something to do when it gets there. Ikigai is the thread that holds the whole morning together. Pull it out, and the beads scatter. You don't have to find your life's purpose before breakfast tomorrow. You just need one thing you'd get up for, even if no one asked you to. A garden, a friend, a walk to a place you like, a grandchild who calls on Thursdays. Anything that makes the alarm clock feel like an invitation instead of an interruption. So let's come back to where we started. 5:15. The wooden house in Nagano. She's folded the futon, opened the windows, moved with her neighbors in the park, walked to the market, sat on the floor, drank her tea, hung the laundry, swept the doorstep. Eaten slowly, stopped before she was full, and knelt in the garden while the morning was still cool. Counted up, her body bent, lifted, balanced, stretched, walked, carried, and reached over and over before most of us have finished our first cup of coffee. And she never once called any of it exercise. That's the secret. There is no secret, there is no miracle supplement, no workout plan, no discipline trick. There is a life arranged so the healthy thing is the easy thing. And the easy thing is just what the morning is. None of this requires starting over. You don't need a tatami floor or a futon or a market within walking distance. You need one habit. Just one. The fold, the walk, the floor, the tea, the pause, the garden. The reason. Start tomorrow morning, pick the one that sounds the simplest, and try it for a week. Not because a video told you to, because a 78-year-old woman in Nagano has been doing it for 60 years, and her body still works. Not because she tried harder, because her morning was built that way. Which one of these 12 would you start with tomorrow? Tell me in the comments. I read every one, and I'll tell you which one I started with myself. If this made you think of someone who could use a gentler morning, send it to them. And if it was worth your time, the like button tells me to keep making these. Most people watching right now aren't subscribed, and that's fine. But it does mean the next one might not find you. One click fixes that. Next time, we're looking at what the Japanese eat for dinner that most Americans have never tried. I think you'll like it.